Imagine working at the MGM Grand. You clean 15 hotel rooms a day. Your back aches, your knees hurt. You bring home $2,150 a month after taxes, if you're lucky enough to get full hours. Now imagine your CEO. Bill Hornbuckle. He made $15.8 million in 2024. Yes, you heard that right. $15.8 million. Want to know how long it would take you, the housekeeper, to earn what he makes? 614 years. 614 years of scrubbing toilets, making beds, and carrying heavy laundry just to equal 1 year of his compensation. If you want to understand what's really happening to workers in America, hit that like button right now and subscribe. This is the story nobody in power wants you to hear. But this isn't just about one CEO. This is about an entire class of billionaires who have quietly taken control of Las Vegas. The land, the buildings, the profits, while the workers who actually run the casinos get squeezed harder every single year. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you who these billionaires are, how much money they're extracting from Vegas, and why workers can't afford to live in the city they built. I'm going to name names, show you the numbers, and reveal the system that's rigged against working people. This is the final chapter of our Las Vegas trilogy. We showed you the economic crisis. We showed you the workers struggling. Now I'm showing you who benefits. Let's get into it. Let's start at the top with the men who run America's biggest casino companies. Bill Hornbuckle, MGM Resorts International. Bill Hornbuckle made $15.8 million in 2024. Let me break that down. $2 million base salary, $3.67 million in bonuses, $10 million in stock awards, $147,000 in other compensation. MGM Resorts disclosed that their CEO to worker pay ratio is 332 to 1. That means for every $1 the median MGM worker earned, Hornbuckle made $332. The median MGM worker earned $47,000 in 2024. That's about $22 per hour if they work full-time. Most don't get full-time hours. And here's the kicker. In May 2025, Hornbuckle signed a new contract extending his role through 2028. He got an $8 million signing bonus just for agreeing to stay. $8 million as a thank you for not leaving. His new deal gives him $2 million annual salary, guaranteed, annual target bonus of 250% of salary, $5 million, $10 million in annual equity grants for 4 years, use of private aircraft, up to $250,000 per year in personal use, plus an advisory role in Osaka, Japan, paying $25,000 per month. Do the math. That's potentially $25 million per year through 2028. While thousands of MGM workers got laid off in 2025. If this is shocking to you, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We're just getting started. But Hornbuckle isn't the worst. Thomas Reeg, Caesars Entertainment. Tom Reeg made $18 million in 2024, $2 million base salary, $2.46 million bonus, $13.5 million in stock awards, $375,000 in other compensation. Caesars disclosed a CEO to worker pay ratio of 419 to 1. Let me repeat that, 419 to 1. The median Caesars worker earned $43,880. That's $21.09 per hour. Meanwhile, Reeg made 419 times that amount. And get this, since 2019, Reeg's compensation has increased by 106%, while median worker pay has increased by only 40%. His pay ratio has expanded by 47% in just 6 years. In 2023, Reeg made $18.6 million, while the median worker made about $33,000, a ratio of 560 to 1. That year, a report by the Institute for Policy Studies listed him as one of America's most overpaid CEOs. But he keeps getting paid more. Let me make this real for you. If you're a Caesars cocktail server making $43,000 a year, you would have to work 419 years to earn what Tom Reeg made in 2024. Let's not forget the other casino executives. Frank Fertitta, Red Rock Resorts Station Casinos, $3.3 million in 2024. His workers' median pay, $42,000. Ratio, 78 to 1. Blake Sartini, Golden Entertainment, $5.4 million in 2024. Median worker pay, $34,000. Ratio, 155 to 1. Now you might say, well, those ratios aren't as bad as MGM and Caesars. But here's the thing. Frank Fertitta doesn't need the salary. He's already a billionaire from other ventures. His $3.3 million is pocket change. The real money comes from ownership. And that's where things get truly obscene. Because what I've shown you so far? The CEO salaries? That's just the surface. That's what they're required to disclose. The real wealth, the billions of dollars being extracted from Las Vegas, comes from a different class of people entirely. Let me introduce you to two brothers who built an empire on the backs of Las Vegas workers, Frank Fertitta and Lorenzo Fertitta. The Fertitta family fortune. Combined net worth, approximately $6.7 billion. How'd they get there? Let me walk you through it. In 1976, their father, Frank Fertitta Jr., built a small 5,000-square-foot casino on Sahara Boulevard called The Casino. It later became Bingo Palace, then Palace Station. That was the beginning of station casinos. Throughout the 1980s and early 1990s, Frank III and Lorenzo worked for their father. In 1993, when their dad retired, they took station casinos public, raising $294 million and becoming principal shareholders. They built an empire of locals casinos, properties like Boulder Station, Sunset Station, Red Rock Resort, Green Valley Ranch, that catered to Las Vegas residents, not tourists. By 2007, they had enough wealth to take station casinos private again in a leveraged buyout. Then the 2008 financial crisis hit. Station casinos filed for bankruptcy in 2009 with $6.5 billion in debt. Here's where it gets interesting. Most companies that file bankruptcy get taken over by creditors, not station. The Fertittas restructured, put in $240 million of new capital, and emerged from bankruptcy in 2011 with full control of the company. In 2016, they took station public again, this time under a new name, Red Rock Resorts. The IPO raised $531.4 million. But here's the genius move. They structured Red Rock so that Frank and Lorenzo each hold super voting shares, giving them 87% of voting power despite owning far less of the actual stock. Translation? They control the entire company even though public shareholders own most of it. They get the benefits of being a public company, access to capital markets, higher stock valuation, while maintaining complete control. As of 2025, Red Rock Resorts has a market capitalization of about $5.6 billion. The Fertittas control 41.2% of all shares. That's 47.7 million shares. At today's stock price, their stake is worth approximately $2.3 billion each, but that's not all. The UFC jackpot. In 2001, Frank and Lorenzo bought the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC, for $2 million. At the time, UFC was near bankruptcy and banned in many states. Over 15 years, they transformed it into a global sports powerhouse. In 2016, they sold UFC to WME-IMG for $4 billion. Each brother reportedly owned a 40.5% stake. That's $1.62 billion each from the sale. So let's add it up. Station casinos jogged Red Rock Resorts, $2.3 billion per brother. UFC sale, $1.6 billion per brother. Other investments and real estate. Total estimated net worth per brother is about $3.5 billion each. What about their workers? Remember that CEO to worker pay ratio we talked about? Red Rock's is 78 to 1. But that's misleading because Frank's $3.3 million salary doesn't include the billions he makes from stock ownership. Red Rock's median worker makes $43,000. That's about $20 per hour. Station Casinos is famously anti-union. They've fought the culinary union for decades, spending millions on legal fees and anti-union campaigns to prevent workers from organizing. In 2016, Station Casinos settled a lawsuit with the National Labor Relations Board for $7.2 million after being accused of illegal union-busting tactics. Why do the Fertittas fight unions so hard? Because unions demand better wages, better benefits, and job security, all of which cost money that would come out of their billions in profits. While their workers struggle to afford rent in North Las Vegas, here's how the Fertittas love. Frank Fertitta owns a beachfront home in Laguna Beach's Emerald Bay community, purchased for $28 million. In 2022, he bought another Emerald Bay property for $43.5 million, one of the top 10 most expensive sales in Orange County history. He owned a super yacht called Viva, valued between $175 million and $250 million. It was the 85th largest super yacht in the world. In 2024, he sold it to hedge fund billionaire Ken Griffin. Lorenzo also owns a super yacht valued at $125 million plus, along with private jets and major pieces of contemporary art. Meanwhile, their employees at station casinos can't afford a one-bedroom apartment within 30 minutes of work. The Fertittas donated $5.2 million to Trump-affiliated campaigns between 2016 and 2024. They're major Republican donors who use their wealth to influence policy. And here's the thing. When billionaires donate millions to politicians, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. They're buying access. They're buying favorable regulations. They're buying tax cuts, all of which makes them richer while their workers stay poor. But as powerful as the Fertittas are, they're not the biggest players in Las Vegas anymore, not even close. Because Wall Street has arrived. If you want to understand who really controls Las Vegas today, forget the casino operators, forget the CEOs. Look at who owns the land and the buildings. Because over the past decade, something unprecedented happened. Wall Street investment firms bought up the physical real estate of nearly every major casino on the Las Vegas Strip. The casinos still operate. MGM still runs the Bellagio. Caesars still runs Caesars Palace, but they don't own them anymore. They rent them. Let me show you how this works. VICI Properties, the landlord of Las Vegas. VICI Properties is a real estate investment trust, REIT, based in New York City. They own the land and buildings of 54 casinos across America, including massive properties on the Las Vegas Strip. Here's what VICI owns in Las Vegas: Caesars Palace, the Venetian and Palazzo, MGM Grand, Mandalay Bay, the Mirage, Park MGM, New York, Luxor, Excalibur, the land under T-Mobile Arena. That's 660 acres of the Las Vegas Strip. VICI is the single largest property owner on the most famous street in America. How did this happen? VICI was created in 2017 as part of Caesars Entertainment's bankruptcy reorganization. Caesars split into two companies, VICI, which owns the real estate, and the operating company, which runs the casinos. Then VICI went on a buying spree. In 2021, VICI bought Las Vegas Sands Strip properties, Venetian Palazzo, Sands Expo, for $4 billion. In 2022, VICI bought rival REIT MGM Growth Properties for $17.2 billion, acquiring ownership of 15 properties including 7 on the Strip. In 2023, VICI bought Blackstone's remaining stake in MGM Grand and Mandalay Bay for $127 billion cash plus $1.5 billion in assumed debt. Today, VICI's total portfolio is worth over $50 billion, and here's the business model. Casinos pay VICI rent. Enormous amounts of rent. MGM Resorts pays VICI approximately $860 million per year to operate properties VICI owns. That rent escalates 2% annually, guaranteed, for 25 years with renewal options extending decades beyond that. Caesars pays VICI over $630 million per year. Apollo, which operates the Venetian, pays VICI hundreds of millions more. Combined, VICI collects nearly $3 billion per year in rent from casinos operating on land VICI owns. Think about that. $3 billion a year. Just in rent. They don't employ a single dealer, bartender, or housekeeper. They don't take any gambling risk. They just own the dirt and the buildings and collect billions. Blackstone, the private equity giant. But VICI isn't the only player. Blackstone Group, one of the world's largest private equity firms, owns massive chunks of Vegas real estate through its Blackstone Real Estate Investment Trust, BRIGHT. Here's what Blackstone owns on the Strip. Bellagio, bought for $4.3 billion in 2019, Cosmopolitan, bought for $1.7 billion in 2014, sold operations to MGM for $1.6 billion in 2021, kept 80% ownership of the land and buildings worth $4 billion. Aria and Vidara, bought for $3.9 billion, 49.9% stake in MGM Grand and Mandalay Bay, sold to VICI for $1.27 billion in 2023. Blackstone's business model is the same. Buy the real estate, lease it back to casino operators, collect rent forever. MGM pays Blackstone $200 million per year just to operate the Cosmopolitan. When Blackstone sold the Cosmopolitan's operating rights to MGM, it was Blackstone's most profitable single-asset deal to date. They bought it for $1.74 billion, spent $500 million renovating, and sold the operations alone for $1.625 billion, while keeping the property worth $4 billion, and they nearly tripled their money in 7 years. And here's what Blackstone does with those profits. In 2022, when they sold the Cosmopolitan operations, they gave all 5,400 employees a $5,000 bonus, a $27 million payout. Sounds generous, right? Until you realize Blackstone made over $3 billion in profit from the deal. They gave workers 0.9% of their windfall. Here's why Wall Street loves this model. 1. Guaranteed income. Rent comes in every month, whether the casino makes money or not. 2. Long-term leases. 25-50 years with renewal options means decades of predictable cash flow. 3. Rent escalators. Rent increases 2% per year automatically, often tied to inflation. 4. No operational risk. If the casino has a bad year, that's the operator's problem, not the landlord's. It's a machine that prints money. And who pays for it? The workers. Because every dollar in rent that casinos pay to VICI and Blackstone is a dollar that's not going to worker wages. It's a dollar that's not building new employee housing. It's a dollar that's not funding better benefits. Casinos are stuck in a vice. They have to pay billions in rent to Wall Street landlords and maximize profits for their own shareholders. So they squeeze labor costs, cutting hours, limiting raises, fighting unions. The workers get crushed in the middle. Let me show you exactly how wealth flows out of Las Vegas and into the pockets of billionaires. Every year, billions of dollars in rent leave Las Vegas and go to Wall Street. VICI Properties collects $3 billion a year. Blackstone collects $500 million a year. Other REITs and private equity firms collect hundreds of millions more. That's at least $4 billion per year in rent payments. Money that used to stay in Las Vegas, invested in properties, paid to workers, circulated in the local economy, now flows to New York-based investment firms and their shareholders. Where does that money come from? Gamblers, and ultimately workers. Here's how it works. 1. Tourists gamble and lose money. 2. Casinos collect that money as revenue. 3. Casinos pay massive rent to Wall Street landlords. 4. To maintain profit margins, casinos cut labor costs. 5. Workers get fewer hours, smaller raises, worse benefits. 6. Workers can't afford housing, forcing them into poverty. 7. Meanwhile, Wall Street landlords and billionaire owners get richer. It's a transfer of wealth from working people to the ultra-rich. Between 2019 and 2024, the low-wage 100 companies, the S&P 500 companies with the lowest median worker pay, spent more on stock buybacks than on capital expenditures. Stock buybacks are when a company uses its profits to buy its own stock, which increases the stock price and enriches shareholders, including executives who own massive amounts of stock. MGM Resorts spent $3.8 billion on stock buybacks between 2019 to 2024. Meanwhile, their median worker pay increased only 22.2% during that time, barely ahead of inflation. Caesars spent $191 million on buybacks. Their median worker pay increased 40.8%, but remember, CEO pay increased 106.4%. This is the game. Maximize shareholder value at the expense of everything else. Pay CEOs in stock so they're incentivized to boost stock prices. Buy back stock to artificially inflate prices. And cut costs, meaning labor, to maximize profits. Workers are not part of this equation. They're a cost to be minimized. REITs like VICI have a special tax status. They don't pay corporate income taxes as long as they distribute at least 90% of their taxable income to shareholders as dividends. So VICI collects $3 billion in rent, pays almost no corporate tax, and sends the profits directly to shareholders. Who are VICI's shareholders? Primarily institutional investors. pension funds, mutual funds, hedge funds, and ultra-wealthy individuals. The money leaves Las Vegas, goes to New York, gets distributed to wealthy investors, and disappears into the global financial system. Let me put a human face on this extraction machine. Maria works at the MGM Grand as a housekeeper. She makes $34,000 per year before taxes. Every day she cleans rooms in a building owned by VICI Properties. MGM pays VICI rent for that building. That rent comes from the money tourists spend gambling and staying at the hotel. But because MGM has to pay hundreds of millions in rent to VICI, they keep Maria's hours under 32 per week to avoid full-time benefits. When tourism drops, they cut her to 20 hours per week. Maria can't afford rent in Las Vegas. She lives 45 minutes away in a 2-bedroom apartment she shares with her roommate, her daughter, and her roommate's 2 kids. She drives an old car that's constantly breaking down. She's one emergency away from financial collapse. Meanwhile, Bill Hornbuckle, MGM CEO, made $15.8 million last year. VICI Properties CEO Ed Pitoniak made over $10 million. VICI's largest shareholders made millions or billions in dividends. None of them will ever meet Maria. None of them know her name. But her labor, her back pain, her exhaustion, her stress subsidizes their wealth. This is not an accident. This is not a bug in the system. This is the system, working exactly as designed. Here's something wild. Las Vegas workers were arguably treated better under mob control than they are under corporate ownership today. I know that sounds crazy. But hear me out. When the mob ran Vegas in the 1950s, 1970s, they had a vested interest in stability. They needed workers they could trust. They needed people loyal to the operation. So they paid decent wages. They provided housing. They offered pensions. They took care of their people, not out of kindness, but because it made business sense. Corporate America? They have no loyalty. Workers are interchangeable. They're a line item on a spreadsheet to be optimized. If you can cut labor costs by 10%, you do it, even if it destroys people's lives. And here's the kicker. The mob invested profits back into Las Vegas. They built properties. They expanded. The money circulated in the local economy. Wall Street? They extract profits and send them to New York. VICI doesn't build new casinos, they just buy existing ones and collect rent. Blackstone doesn't create jobs, they maximize returns for investors. The mob was criminals, don't get me wrong. But at least they were local criminals who understood that killing the golden goose was bad for business. Wall Street is strip mining Las Vegas for every dollar they can extract, and they don't care what happens to the city or its workers after they've cashed out. In the 1970s, a casino worker in Vegas could buy a house on a single income. They could raise a family. They could save for retirement. Today, as we showed in our previous video, 99% of entry-level homes were affordable to blue-collar workers in 2012. By 2025, only 20% are affordable. Wages have increased 14% since 2019. Rent has increased 34%. Housing prices have doubled. Meanwhile, CEO pay increased 106%, Caesars, or 20%, MGM. Stock buybacks totaled billions. Wall Street landlords collected $4+ billion year in rent. Billionaire owners got richer. The money didn't disappear, it just went somewhere else. So what happens next? If current trends continue, Las Vegas will become a city where workers cannot afford to live. They'll commute from farther and farther away. Turnover will increase. Quality of service will decline. The entire tourism industry will suffer. You can't run a hospitality industry without hospitality workers, and you can't have hospitality workers if they're homeless. At some point, the system breaks. Maybe that's when billionaires will realize they've gone too far, or maybe they'll just move on to the next city to strip mine, leaving Vegas a hollowed-out shell. So here's what you need to understand. Las Vegas is not dying because of bad luck or economic cycles. It's dying because billionaires are killing it. Bill Hornbuckle makes 332 times what his median worker makes. Tom Reeg makes 419 times. The Fertitta brothers are worth $3 billion each, while their workers make $42,000 a year. VICI Properties collects $3 billion in rent annually. Blackstone extracts hundreds of millions more. Every dollar they make is a dollar that could have gone to workers, could have gone to affordable housing, could have gone to building a sustainable community. Instead, it goes to penthouses in Manhattan, super yachts in the Mediterranean, and beachfront mansions in Laguna Beach. This isn't just a Las Vegas story, this is the story of America. This is what happens when we let billionaires and Wall Street run everything. The workers who built Vegas, who clean the rooms and deal the cards and serve the drinks, they deserve better. They deserve a living wage. They deserve affordable housing. They deserve dignity. And they're not going to get it until we fundamentally change the system that prioritizes billionaire profits over human lives. If this video opened your eyes, smash that like button and share it everywhere. Drop a comment and tell me, can we fix this system, or is American capitalism beyond repair? Thanks for watching this trilogy. We've shown you the crisis, the workers suffering, and the billionaires benefiting. Now you know the truth. I'll see you in the next one.